by J.J. McCarthy. Take the handoff. And Alec Manis is going to throw a pick. They give it to Corum. Up back. Corum. Touchdown, Wolverine. Roman Wilson does it again. Boy, finds some daylight. He got some speed and some blockers. Outside. Turns the corner. Blake Corum down the sideline. Looking over the middle. Caught. Touchdown, Wolverine. McCarthy extends the play, now using legs. McCarthy a first down.
Oh, I feel a lot better after watching the intro. So we're having all... What?
You can't hear me.
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so I just want to let you know, I'm pretty sure it caught everything before you showed the intro.
Yeah, I think we saw a couple of extra shows there. I should lengthen the countdown so that we can keep that going and then go live. Everybody, we're having all kinds of fun tonight. We are 38 minutes late because nothing works.
Nope.
It just, I don't even want to go into it. What a nightmare this has been. I was almost ready to call it off. This is ridiculous. Anyway, we finally got it working. Welcome to our live stream. This is the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. I am Cliff. With me, as always, is Mac. Mac, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm kind of like freaking out because like we're actually starting, and I kind of thought this was going to get canceled. So
I was this close, that close to canceling.
Yeah.
I suppose if anybody's out there who could possibly let us know that whether or not the audio is coming through, that would be helpful.
I'll ping the wifey.
Somebody tune in and watch so we know if we're working or not. We have a number of things to go over. So there's been a lot of news in Michigan in the past couple of weeks, and we haven't covered any of it because we actually took a break, and I worked on using Streamlabs instead of StreamYards, and everything was going great until we actually wanted to go live. So we're going to talk about Michigan's new coaching staff, Michigan's upcoming lineup, NIL talk. There's some sketchy stuff going on at the NCAA, and hopefully get some chats from you guys if you're out there. Ooh, Tammy says she can hear us both. Thank you, honey. Yay. Appreciate it. Of course, she's in the other room, so she's probably just hearing me yelling.
Sure.
Mac, anything you want to catch up on before I go running into the articles here? Because this has just been one of those days.
Yeah, no, let's get into it. Let's talk football. That's going to make us both feel a lot better.
All right, we're going to switch it over. I got the Streamlabs is pretty nice. I got to be honest. If we do get this working, this is going to save us $25 a month. That is the graphic from our website, teamrivalry.com. The first thing we want to talk about, I should put that up. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot this was the first article. I thought this was the second article. Michigan Wolverines declared the big winners of National Signing Day. Not too shabby. It was looking kind of scary there for a minute. I know a lot of people were like, we're losing our starters, but most of them were seniors. We lost, I don't know. We didn't really lose that many guys to the transfer portal, did we?
So far only 3. I think the real big loss was Keon Sabb. That was actually a bit of a shock too, because Keon Sabb made a game-saving tackle against Alabama, and he would have been a starter this season too. So I'm not sure why he's transferring, other than they didn't have like stability on defense until just like a week or two ago.
Okay.
With Wink Martindale coming in. Yeah.
And oh shoot, now I forgot his name. The guy who caught the ball at the was doing the kickoff reception there and dropped it and picked it back up again.
Oh, Jake Thaw.
Thaw, that's it.
Yeah, actually, he's a loss too.
Yeah,
that's a loss because he clearly had really good presence of mind to, we've talked about it before, but yeah, yep. That's a loss too. I wish he wouldn't have transferred, but I understand why he is. Yeah,
I'm sad to see him go, but I think we did talk about it at the Senior Bowl. I think he's got a good career ahead of him. That kid has a head on his shoulders. A good head on his shoulders. He's going to be a great player.
Yeah.
So as we have here many Michigan Wolverine fans, and in our case, Walmart Wolverine fans, we're nervous when the rumors of Jim Harbaugh leaving started to become real. A coaching change in college football can cripple a program, and we are going to talk about the coaching changes here in a little bit, but first we're talking about the players. as players leave once the coach who recruited them leaves. However, this has not happened as of this moment. Brad Shepard of Bleacher Report declared the Wolverines as one of the big winners of National Signing Day. So it's not just, Michigan fans saying they're the big winners. This is Bleacher Report saying this.
They're obviously Michigan homers. Obviously,
yeah. So Mac, do you want to take us through this, or what did you have in mind here?
I need the article. I went looking for the article and couldn't. Oh, here it is. No, that's not it. Can you send me the article? No, but okay. So I read the article earlier, and like what he's saying. So what he's saying is basically that Michigan hasn't had like much roster turnover because of the coaching change, and he's absolutely right. There hasn't been a lot of roster turnover, which is great. Keon Stab leaving doesn't make a ton of sense. Don't really know what's going on there, but so far nobody's leaving and nobody's decommitting from the class yet. So yeah, I mean, if you're, if you're a team that's going through a coaching change like this, I mean, Harbaugh was, fairly entrenched at Michigan. Like he's been here for over 10 years now, 10 years at this point, almost 10 years. Yeah, because 2015.
Well, yeah, it was 9 seasons.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's some there, and they've finally figured out a winning formula in the last 3. Well, I mean, they've been winning the whole time. They just haven't been winning the championships that we wanted. I mean, Michigan was never a bad team except for maybe 2017 and 2020.
Right.
But like under Harbaugh, Michigan was never really, that bad. I mean, we certainly weren't Rich Rod or Hoke era kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's when we were trying to decide with 9 or 10 games going to be the ceiling. We're just going to live with that, which 9 or 10 wins a season is not terrible.
I mean, that's not bad.
It's just not going to win you a championship.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we weren't winning the games that we wanted to win. And then with a 9-win season, we were going to good bowl games. But the problem was that we were going to good bowl games against good teams. And they weren't beating, the great team. They were beating good teams, I should say. They weren't beating the great teams. Like 2019 Alabama, Michigan could have won that game. They didn't. Frankly, 2018 and 19 Ohio State, Michigan could have beaten them. They didn't. So there you go. Anyway, so these last 3 years, they've obviously figured out a championship winning formula, and here we are. And so, yeah, a coaching change is like, can they continue to win championships the way that they have been? I mean, a natty for Michigan is a fairly big deal. They've got all of their other natties are contested. So whatever.
Contested
anyway,
or shared national championships. But this is, I mean, prior to BCS, I mean, they were just picking the national championship winner anyway. The championshipper, yeah.
Yeah.
But they used to just pick them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, with the AP poll or the coaches poll, they picked, yeah.
It wasn't even necessarily the AP poll, from what I remember. It was, more than likely whoever was number 1 in the AP, but even the AP hasn't been around, the entire span of football.
Oh yeah,
so some of the championships were decided, posthumously, basically, and then other ones were just decided by the coaches.
Well, like back in the early 1900s, it wasn't it the AP or like voters of papers or something like that would award national championships.
Yeah, they would declare the national championship, or the national champion, but it wasn't even as as decisive as it is today. So they're always contested, unless there's one team that absolutely stands out above the others, but that's rare.
So, okay, all of the crap that Michigan was getting because, they've got one uncontested natty in the last, or however many natties Michigan has, 12 natties that Michigan has now. Like, well, yeah, but everybody's got contested national championships up until 1999, 2000, whenever the BCS started.
Right, so, yeah, because not everybody agreed with the AP. So even when the AP was saying they're the national championship, not everybody agreed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever. And then we got the BCS out of it, and now here we are with the college football playoff, and now a playoff that's expanding to 12 teams because none of us can make up our minds.
Right.
Yeah.
So so in this article, he talks about Reese Atterbury is gone. He played from 2020 to 2023. He played in 24 games, both sides of the ball, but he was never a starter. Am I in the right spot on this artitor? Hiring Sharon Moore. We have Can the Wolverines get a 4th straight title? Oh. Where's the rest of it? I lost some of this article.
I got it. Right.
Oh,
yeah,
there they are. I'm sorry. I went right past them. Sorry,
Oh.
everybody. I went right past. Yeah, so Reese Atterbury's gone. Noah Stewart is gone. They're the only ones to leave. So from what I understand, Noah Stewart played from 2020 to 23, and he only played in 4 games.
Okay, yeah.
Darius Clemens left for Oregon State. I think that's actually kind of a loss.
Yeah, although I got to remember who that is. I feel bad saying that because, like, they play for Michigan, which is a big deal, but
right.
I remember who that is.
Darius Clemens was running back, I think. Now, shoot, I'm going to say that, and that's what always happens. You get set up for these things, and then if you can't remember the names right off the bat,
you're going to get blasted.
Wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He caught a few passes this year, didn't he?
He caught a few.
Yeah, I thought he did.
Here. Darius Clemens, prospect info. He's got highlights. That's going to be, let's see. Darius Clemens, stats, Michigan, 2023 stats. So for 2023, not a whole lot. He got 33 yards, 3 receptions, no touchdowns.
Okay.
So not necessarily one of the standout players, but I believe he was considered to be up and coming at least.
Yeah.
We were looking forward to him being one of the better players on the team. But he's moved on to Oregon State for his own personal reasons, and obviously wish him well and hope he does well over there.
That's a weird place to transfer to. Oh, wait, you said personal reasons?
Well, I mean, it's ultimately personal reasons.
Oh, okay. I guess I thought you were saying that
if you're transferring to Oregon State, it's probably not for NIL.
Well, I guess I was confused because I thought personal reasons meant like, okay, he's got family or something like that in Oregon or whatever, but that's probably not what it means.
Probably not.
No. But so that's kind of a weird place to transfer to because Oregon State's going through a bit of a coaching upheaval themselves, and from what I understand, it's not nearly as smooth a transition as Michigan's has been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which so a lot of people are, I guess this kind of goes along with, Michigan winning signing day. Like, yeah, they won signing day in the fact that they kept their signing or their recruiting class intact despite a coaching change. And that just speaks to the smoothness of the transition. But a lot of people are giving Michigan a whole bunch of crap, saying there's absolutely no way Harbaugh left a good foundation. We talked about that during the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. But how do you know unless you look at the tangibles? And the tangibles are Michigan has never really recruited that well, or as well as you would have hoped with a team of this caliber, but they're constantly getting top 20 classes, and now they're taking these top 20 classes full of a bunch of 3s and 4 stars and winning championships with them. Right. So I don't care if Michigan is top 16 as long as they don't have a bunch of players currently on the team leave. Then Schroen's got everything he needs to continue the momentum, to keep things going the way that they have been. Also, he needs to bring in good coaches, and we'll get to this, but it looks like he is.
So who do you know as far as who has Michigan brought in that they were, anticipating bringing in to improve both the O-line and the offensive side and defensive side of the ball?
Coaching wise or player wise?
No, player wise. Who have they recruited? Who have they brought over? Because I thought I heard they actually got somebody who was going to go to Ohio State.
I think they got a few players out of Ohio. Right. I know they got the number 1 overall rated recruit out of Ohio, I want to say. Yeah, Jordan Marshall, the running back from Archbishop Moeller in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, he was named Ohio Mr. Football, I guess. That's right. The name. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean they've got a good class coming in. I mean, it's not a great transfer class. They're not bringing in a lot of transfers, which is fine. You don't need a ton of transfers when you've got returning production the way that they do. But I mean, Jaden Davis is their 4-star quarterback. He's the one that everybody had been saying this is the guy that's going to come after JJ and keep the momentum going. We kind of thought JJ was going to stay one more year. They just won the Natty. He's got a good draft stock. It's fine. He's gone. That's okay. But Jaden Davis is coming in. He's a really big piece of this recruiting class. Josiah Edmond is a cornerback. He's a big piece of this class. Andrew Sprague is who I'm really excited about. He's an offensive tackle. Broski here is 6'7", 286 pounds. This guy is big. He's a big guy. So that just shows that Michigan is continuing to bring in good players on the lines. They've got 2 edge rushers coming in, 2 4-star edge rushers. They've got another offensive tackle, another couple of tight ends. All of these guys are 4-stars. This class is actually pretty exciting to me. I understand there's no 5-star on the team just yet, but they just took a class of 3-stars to the Natty. What can they do with 4-stars? And then what can they do once they get their NIL in order, which it actually sounds like they're going to. So things are really looking up right now.
Cool. Yeah, I heard somebody asked Sharon Moore how he felt about Michigan's chances against Ohio State this year. And he said, well, we'll settle that in November.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was funny because after that, people started saying, "Oh, Sharon Moore's taking a shot at Ohio State." I'm like, I don't think so. I think he's just saying they're going to play the game and see who wins.
Yeah. He's kind of just speaking facts. Like, well, there's a game scheduled in late November. We'll play that. Whoever wins, I think, will probably be the winner.
But that's what happens in our clickbait age, that you can't say anything without people thinking you're trying to be provocative in some way.
Well, hey, as we've learned, clickbait sells.
It does.
So it does.
Just got to be able to back it up. If it's all clickbait, you're in trouble.
That's fair.
You end up as the Mike Zero of sports.
If nobody knows who that is, you're clearly not a Star Wars fan.
Good for you. For not knowing who it is. Being a Star Wars fan is good. At least it used to be.
Well, it used to be.
I also heard Jake Tuttle is apparently doing really well. And somebody came up with a nickname for him of King Tut, which I thought was kind of fun.
That's good. I like that.
And I was a little like, at first I was like, no, wait a minute. Orgy's supposed to be the QB next year, but it'll be kind of cool. I mean, if we have, again, 2 standout quarterbacks between Orgy and Tuttle, that'll be nice. That just means we got a deep bench, and that'll be great.
Yeah, I think Michigan's quarterback room is actually fairly deep right now, which is kind of crazy because last season, everybody was saying if JJ gets injured permanently, like that whole season is shot because they have no depth at quarterback. I think that's only the case because Jack Tuttle wasn't given a fair shake and Alex Orgy was still kind of young. I think Orgy is a sophomore now, I want to say. So he's got a tad bit of experience, but he's an athlete, man. He is a dude. Like he is big. We talked about him being a good Jalen Milroe stand-in. Mm-hmm. I mean, if he develops a little bit more, he can be just as good, if not better than Jalen Milroe. So yeah, I mean, he's a good quarterback. In my opinion, though, Jake Tuttle didn't get a fair shake though, because he got injured against Rutgers. Jake Tuttle.
Oh man.
Are you sure? I think it's Jack.
Jack Tuttle?
Jack Tuttle. I'm pretty sure it's Jack. I'm going to say Tuttle until we know. But Tuttle didn't get a fair shake.
It is Jack.
Because it's Jack. Whoops.
I'm thinking Jake. Sorry, man.
All right. Well, whatever. He's not watching. Let's call him Jake. But he didn't get a fair shake because he was injured against Rutgers. And that was that dirty play where he was running the ball and he got the first down. And then Rutgers, one of their players, hit him late out of bounds and he smacked his head against the bench.
Yep.
So, yeah, if he had been able to play the rest of that game, I think he would have put up some numbers. But as it stands, whatever, he did get a lot of snaps over, especially like the non-conference. And I thought he looked good. Like, I thought once he got into a rhythm, he looked good. And he's capable of running the ball. So he's not just a pocket passer. Mm-hmm. So why not, Why not? That's all I got. That's what I get, Why not?
Well, I forgot. I actually have a link here to Michigan's recruits. Or you were already looking at this list, right?
Yeah. Yeah, from 247.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have the so the overall rank is 19, composite rank is 16?
Yeah.
I mean, out of 133, that's not bad.
Whatever. We just won the national championship. If we go 9-3 this season, which it looks like there's a possibility we go 9-3, I'm not upset. Do you see this sweater? Do you see how it says 2023? 2023. I don't care what happens in 2024. Obviously, if we don't even make a bowl game, that'll hurt a little bit. But let's go 9-3. I don't care. This is great. We're fine. Everything's fine.
But this year, 9-3 could still get you to the national championship, couldn't it?
Which is the dumbest thing in the world. But yeah. This is the conversation now, which I don't know if this is on topic. We can switch, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, does 9-3 get you to a national championship now? Does not get you into the playoffs now? That's going to be the debate. Which 9-3 team has the best resume? Which is just, I mean, you're 9-3. You don't deserve a shot at the Natty. The shot at the Natty. Come on.
How about, okay, you want to move on to NFL execs?
Yeah,
I guess
let's
since we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about the players. One of the other things, and this article is actually a little bit out of date. We're talking 11 days ago that NFL execs don't hold back on Michigan QB J.J. McCarthy. Could J.J. McCarthy end up being the best quarterback to come out of the 2024 NFL draft class? Now, I just read something that the Chargers, so that's Jim Harbaugh's team, and the Raiders, I think, might be competing for the same quarterback from an SEC quarterback, and I didn't catch his name, who they were talking about. But I find that interesting, though. That was in a mock draft, and I don't know. I guess I've never really followed these mock drafts to figure out how much weight they carry, or if they're just basically guessing that this is what they think certain teams might need or certain teams could use.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that J.J. McCarthy would be at the top of Harbaugh's list. I think it'll be interesting if Harbaugh doesn't go for J.J., but then again, he might not even get the chance.
Yeah, no, he might not get the chance, but I don't think that, where is he going? The Chargers. I don't think that the Los Angeles Chargers need a quarterback either, though. So okay. I don't know what their quarterback depth situation looks like, but they've got Justin Herbert as their starter, and he's a good quarterback. He is reliable. He can get them to a Super Bowl if he's got if they build up the team around him a little bit. So I guess what I'm thinking is I don't think that the Chargers really need a quarterback too right now because I mean, yeah, Herbert is good. Herbert is also young, so he's still got some time left. So now is not really the time to find a replacement for him. If they need a backup, then maybe that's something to consider. The thing is that JJ is of the caliber that I don't think he wants to be a backup. I think he knows that he can be a starter, maybe not necessarily year one, but certainly he should go to a team where he could potentially be the starter within the next 3 to 4 seasons. So I'm thinking how old is Kirk Cousins? I think he's a bit up there. How old is
he's got to be 30 now, 32?
32. So he might have a few seasons left.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback at Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks. Can't remember his name. But Geno Smith? I think it's Geno Smith. I believe he's a little bit older too. So that might be something to think about. Maybe he goes to a team like that where the quarterback is older, but still has a few years. He could learn the ropes and all that, and then take over as a franchise quarterback because JJ is going to be that type of quarterback. He's not going to be a backup. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to hammer that home. He's not going to be a backup. So you can't draft him thinking that he's going to be QB2 for more than 3 or 4 seasons at most.
I get a little worried because I look back at Rudock.
Yeah,
Rudock. Well, he was the Harbaugh's first year, wasn't he?
Yep.
And he had that fantastic season and ends up on the practice team. I don't know where he is now.
Yeah, I don't know either.
but when they're talking about McCarthy, let's see. So they got good quarterback in the draft class. McCarthy played 3 seasons at Michigan. Most important, McCarthy led the Wolverines to a national championship.
Yeah, he did.
McCarthy typically isn't even viewed as a top 3 or 4 guy, but LSU's Jaden Daniels and Washington's Michael Penix Jr., who just lost the national championship, are generally ranked ahead of McCarthy on most draft boards, and Oregon's Bo Nix gives McCarthy a run for his money on some lists, too.
Yeah.
There seems to be a great, if not likely, chance that McCarthy falls to the second round, so whoever nabs him may be getting a steal.
Yeah.
And then we get some of McCarthy's stats. The sophomore year, 2022, totaled 2,719 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 picks, while completing 64.6% of his throws.
Man, that's something I didn't think about. So in his from his second year to his first year, he threw, so in his second year in 2022, he threw 5 picks on how many passes? Does it say? I can't remember.
No,
whatever. Anyway, so not as many as 2023 for sure. So he threw 5 picks in 2022, and then doubled the amount of pass attempts in 2023 and threw even fewer interceptions. I mean, he got really good. I mean, he made some crazy throws in 2023 too. The reason though, I mean, first off, Jaden Daniels is ranked ahead of JJ McCarthy right now because he just won the Heisman. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. The guy, Jaden Daniels, is incredible. He is the reason why LSU's offense is the reason why they won as many games as they did this season. Their defense was historically bad. I'm not going to blame the players. I'm going to blame the coaching. The coaching, Brian Kelly needs to get that figured out. Okay. Michael Penix, he's ranked ahead of JJ because Washington was a very pass-heavy offense. I'm pretty sure that's the case. He certainly threw the ball a lot more than JJ did because, I mean, obviously it's Michigan. Michigan's going to be balanced at best, if not lean run. So JJ's not going to get as much of a chance to show off his arm as Michael Penix does. But the thing is that JJ looked as good as he did. He put up the kind of tape that he did despite that. So if you want to get JJ, then you're getting a quarterback that absolutely can throw the ball when necessary, but doesn't mind playing in a system that's balanced. So you're getting a team player. You're getting a leader. You're getting a good game manager, but also a guy who, when the football's in his hands, he's going to make it happen. He's going to win you football games for sure.
Yeah, I think that's going to be critical. The fact that he's a team player, he can pull these guys together. The only drawback there is that in college, those guys want to play. I guess maybe NIL now changes that, but typically there's no question of, money changing people's minds and attitudes. So, you get into the NFL and all of a sudden you don't get a team, you get a bunch of prima donnas, cashing a paycheck, and it's much harder to pull a team together. But obviously it does happen. The Lions just did it this year. San Francisco and those guys have done it, are doing it. So it can be done. It'll be interesting to see how JJ can pull that together. Now, you know what? And, we read all this stuff on YouTube on how to do these live streams and that, and we forgot to ask anybody out there watching, throw up in the chat there, where do you think McCarthy will land in the draft? Do you think he'll be first round, second round, third round? Where do you think he's going to end up? Let us know. Throw it in the chat and we can talk about it. Undrafted.
Undrafted.
Well, okay. So while people are trying to figure out what round he should be in, I need to understand a little better what does it matter if they're first round, second round, or third round? Because as we know, Tom Brady was not first round, and he is the greatest quarterback of all time. So does it really matter? Okay, money. So it's if you're in first round, you get to ask more money.
Well, yeah, if you're a first round pick, you're obviously way more in demand than.
But only at that point.
Worth more. Well, yeah, absolutely. It's a risk for sure. Right. There are busts all the time. I mean, the number one overall player, it's national news when he either busts or booms.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, was Baker Mayfield a number one overall pick? Oh, I can't remember if it was Baker Mayfield, but I think Baker Mayfield was like a top 10 pick, at least a first rounder. But he busted at the first couple of teams that he went to, and now he's in Tampa and he's playing extremely well. So, I mean, there's something to be said for the system that you're drafted into. But sure, I mean, you can take the player number 1 overall and he can turn out to not be so good. I mean, there are some kids that are amazing in college and they get to the pros and it doesn't work out. I mean, whether that's because of their skill set not translating or if it's because they're not in the system that they need to be in, that's just how it works. Right. So yeah, it's a risk for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, so then one of the things I read that could hold McCarthy back is the fact that he's what, 6'4", 200 pounds, 6'5", 200 pounds?
Yeah, he's a little scrawny.
Yeah, so he's a little scrawny for his height.
Yeah.
And in professional football and in the NFL, he's going to take a lot harder of a hit than he would in college football. So he's going to need to put on some weight. He's going to need to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
How much of a factor? When is the draft? That comes up in a couple of weeks now, isn't it?
April. I think it's April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a whole lot of time. When is the combine?
The combine's coming up here, isn't it?
That's what I thought.
Hang on, I can do this.
All right.
NFL Combine 2024.
If the combine, I mean, if he's got to put on that weight before the combine, although I guess you could say that they could pick him up and then immediately put him into training because they don't have to. They're obviously not going to start playing until September or August. You get the preseason in August, so he's got. Would you say it was in April? Is the draft?
Yeah.
So he'd have 4 months to put on some weight.
2 months, less than 2 months. It's February.
No, April. I mean, I don't know that he has to have the weight put on by April.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like in April when they pick him up, they could say, okay, McCarthy, we're picking you up, but you need to put on 20 pounds, and you'll have to do that before August.
Okay, I was like, do you know what day it is, dude?
No, I don't actually.
You don't know what day it is? Setting up this freaking stream was just so traumatic.
It was.
But actually, so the combine starts on February 29th. And it goes until March 3rd. So that's coming up here soon.
Yeah. And the combine is multi-day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They do a multi-day what do you call that? Routes and stuff. What are those called when you're at practice and you drills? Multi-day drills.
Wow.
Running the guys through all of those things.
Yes.
Okay. At any rate, what do you think? What round do you think he'll go in? I have no idea, to be honest. I really that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense to me as far as which one they end up in.
Well, so not every team needs a quarterback, and so I think the number of teams that are really like in need of a quarterback are few and far between this season, anyway. And I think that Michael.
Okay. Wait a minute, though. Hold that thought. Isn't it the worst team in the NFL gets the first round pick?
Yeah. Well, theoretically, unless they traded their pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if they needed a quarterback, okay, so then I guess we'll see if the worst team decides to trade their pick. Because if they don't, then that's probably because they want a quarterback.
Maybe. I mean, or they want, someone on defense, or, I mean, defensive players go first round too. And
well, yeah,
I don't know how often a non-quarterback player goes number 1 overall, but I'm pretty sure it's actually more often than you think.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, so I don't think that there are a lot of, and again, I don't watch a ton of NFL. The Lions just got good. So, well, actually I've been watching the Lions since Jim Swartz, so I shouldn't even say that.
I was going to say, you've been watching them for a while.
I've been watching them for a while, yeah.
You're a good fan.
Yeah, they've been breaking my heart for a while, but, they got good now, so we're good. Anyway, but as far as the rest of the teams go, I don't think a lot of teams need a quarterback, and Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels are probably going to get drafted before McCarthy. So I see McCarthy being a late first rounder, but I do see him being a first rounder. And I know that there are a lot of rumors that JJ McCarthy is flying up draft boards because of his performance or not necessarily because of his performance, but because teams are kind of looking more into his intangibles. So he doesn't exactly have the best tape because he didn't need to do a lot this season. Right. But the tape that he does have is really good. I mean, he's got some really good throws and some really good decision-making skills.
All right. I'm interested to see where he ends up because, like I said, your best players don't always go in the first round. So,
right,
that'll be interesting.
This is true. It will be.
Oh, you know what? Let's skip over the. Let's see. We had. Oh, I'm sorry. I already skipped over one. We could go to. Let's go to this NCAA thing.
All right.
We will come back to the excuse me. We'll come back to the Michigan coaching staff. So the NCAA, and this will be so anybody watching out there, throw this up in the chat. Do you think the NCAA is corrupt or not? That's the question of the day. That's what we're going to go over right now. Now, Mac, you pulled this one up. You saw this first. Essentially what happened here is Tom Mars, as being involved in an NCAA investigation, was asked to turn over his phone. And he's actually a reporter. While representing a client in an NCAA enforcement investigation, the enforcement staff demanded access to my wireless carrier's phone log. So he's the lawyer, not the reporter, the lawyer, and he was asked to turn over his phone. I mean, this just on the face of it right there, without going any further, sounds like an absolute violation of the First Amendment.
It's creepy, too.
Yeah.
Why? I'm trying to pull it up again, but like, why? What happened?
Right. So according to this, a synopsis of the NCAA's recently expanded authority to search the cell phone of a lawyer who is providing legal representation to a school or coach. You would think right off the bat, this shouldn't even be a question. There is client-attorney privilege. There is First Amendment privilege. He's not part of the investigation. He's representing somebody. So unless he's done something illegal, there's no reason for them to be investigating him.
No, I feel like the NCAA is kind of like acting, kind of like a government, like like the Department of Justice would.
Right.
Like they're, what's probable cause? They're acting like they have probable cause and are using that to search people's phone. I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to have cause to do stuff like that. You can't just, take stuff from people unless somebody is, if you're a suspect, yes.
But that has to be a police department. That has to be a government.
I would think so. This is and this is where things get out of hand with the NCAA. This is why they're accused of corruption so often, is because they're acting like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And just because it's not a criminal issue doesn't mean all of your rights get suspended.
But that doesn't even matter because they are not a police department. They are not an investigative arm of the government. They are a private. Are they private? Maybe they're public. Maybe they're public, and that's why they think that they're allowed to do this. But I don't think that they are. They're not allowed to seize somebody's cell phone, somebody's private property, and search it. That's not legal.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes on here that worse yet, another new rule effective January 1st, 2023 allows the NCAA enforcement staff to seek immediate non-appealable penalties from the COI against a school or coach whose lawyer refused to give the enforcement staff whatever information they wanted to see from the lawyer's cell phone with no required explanation of its potential relevance.
That is a massive violation of how many amendments? Like at least the First Amendment. What's the amendment with the no punishment by unless by trial or without trial or whatever it is? Your right to a trial.
I'm not
Due
exactly sure
process.
which one is, but yeah, there's due process. There's the now I'm going to forget. The Fourth Amendment comes in there too. But
I'll look that up.
yeah, I don't get. We didn't look up and see where this ended up, but I mean, he's getting into how the NCAA is corrupt. The NCAA is completely corrupt, and why we would trust them with any investigation. And here's where the Michigan bias is going to come in, because they are now investigating Michigan, although they're also not now. They've been investigating Michigan for a few months now. They're also investigating Tennessee.
Tennessee, Florida State, Ohio State. Yeah, there were rumors
several
that there's going to be more.
Investigations. Yeah,
Yeah,
and basically they're acting like they can just come in and do whatever they want. And when that happens, the problem with when that happens is you lose the chain of custody. When you lose your rights like that, then all of a sudden you can be accused of things you didn't do. There's the right to not self-incriminate, which I guess is part of the Fifth Amendment.
yeah.
There may be other things on Tom's phone that he doesn't want them to see, that they have no reason to see, that may or may not be, illegal, but certainly private.
Yeah,
and if the NCAA has it, you all of a sudden lose control of all of your private information. Maybe he's got pictures of his kids on there and that.
Maybe he's got like love messages from his wife or something too. I don't know. But okay, so I'm not seeing anything that the NCAA is an arm of the government. They're a nonprofit organization. There's this part on Wikipedia that kind of goes along with it, saying the NCAA substantially restricts the kinds of benefits and compensation that college athletes can receive. The consensus among economists is these caps for men's basketball and football players benefit the athletes' schools at the expense of the athletes. Economists have subsequently characterized the NCAA as a cartel. In 2021, the Supreme Court of the United States unanimously ruled that some of these NCAA restrictions on student athletes are a violation of U.S. antitrust law. So, yeah, I remember this when I took my sports economic class at university, at Western Michigan University. Go Broncos. And so there are different types of economies, or different types of companies structured within an economy. And the cartel economy is a type of economy. It's literally like you've got the center, and then you got arms that are technically different organizations, but they all operate as arms of the main organization. So like the NFL is the main organization, and then you've got all of the 32 teams that play within the NFL. And it acts as a cartel because the NFL takes all the money and evenly disperses it. Sends it to all of the 32 teams. The NCAA kind of works that way, but I don't believe it entirely works that way, because I don't know how much it's dealing with money, like from the schools. I don't know exactly how that works per se. But what it's acting like is all of these member schools are members of its cartel, and therefore it can levy sanctions, or it can punish these member organizations without actually being involved without actually being involved in an economic way. Mm-hmm. So essentially the NCAA is profiting one way or another. We know that money is being given to the NCAA because of football. We know that money is being generated by the conferences and by the schools. And at one point, the players were not compensated for their contribution to this. So essentially, the players were volunteers, I guess, but they were generating all of this money and giving it to the NCAA without getting pay. The NCAA is a cartel.
Yeah.
Economy lesson over.
His conclusion here, Tom Mars's conclusion, his takeaway is right here. that in its zeal to punish schools, coaches, and athletes with NIL deals, the NCAA has resorted to bullying targets with heavy-handed investigative tactics that are prohibited by every other American institution. And I read that, and that reminded me of the call or the document that the NCAA had with the Big Ten about Michigan. And it essentially boiled down to, look, we've got evidence and we can prove it. Take our word for it. Now do what you're told.
But they never they never produced the evidence.
Yeah, they haven't. So far, the only thing they've produced in the case against Michigan is a spreadsheet from Connor Stallions.
Yeah.
Of things that may or may not have happened. So, and then they're trying to bully Michigan into doing something. Although I almost think that Harbaugh called their bluff by pushing back. And because Tony Petitti and to some extent Ward Manuel was on his side too, they were able to push back and kind of make the NCAA look a little foolish, I think anyway, but
I don't know if Tony Petitti or if Ward Manuel had anything to do with making the NCAA look foolish. I mean, because Ward Manuel, I don't know what to think of Ward Manuel anymore. Isaiah Hull says that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that makes what's going on with Michigan athletics right now not really Ward Manuel's fault.
Okay.
Tony Petitti, though, I mean, we read the letter. Mm-hmm. He said that it doesn't matter that there's no evidence. We have this sportsmanship policy and everybody's really upset. So we're just going to go ahead and punish you anyway. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. So Tony Petitti is no fan of Michigan and especially Jim Harbaugh. That being said, it may get to a point where the NCAA pushes so much that even Tony Petitti says, okay, this is ridiculous. We need our own government oversight, or not government, but we need our own oversight, which actually they started the advisory committee with the SEC. So as soon as the NCAA dies.
Santa Ono, I was thinking, I think I said Tony Petitti when I meant to say Santa Ono because he was definitely pushed back.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It was Santa Ono in his letter back saying, you guys have a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence. It sounds like you're going on rumors and hearsay.
Right.
And which precipitated Tony Petitti saying, oh, no, we're not. and Tony Petitti's response, we're not. Here's the evidence that the NCAA shared with us, and it was that spreadsheet. And then he added on there, plus the NCAA says they have and can prove all this other stuff. What other stuff? What can they prove? Well, they said they can.
So
okay,
trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But this part, so the rule where it says the staff or the NCAA is allowed to seek immediate non-appealable penalties from I don't know what the COI is, against a school or coach whose lawyer refused to give enforcement staff whatever information they wanted. That's insane. That is a violation. One, that's a violation of due process. Mm-hmm. And frankly, because the NCAA is not a government committee, they're behaving much like a tyrannical dictatorship.
Yeah.
They're handing out punishments and they're handing out, they're handing out punishments without one, presenting any evidence, or two, allowing a trial to actually take place. Michigan was punished before they had a chance to actually rebuke any of the allegations. Mm-hmm. So I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but like that's their cartel and horrible, and please go away.
Yeah. The COI is the Committee on Infractions.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's the NCAA. Should we move on?
We should.
All right.
Okay, you want to start looking at the coaching staff? We are coming up on 49 minutes, so let's take a gander at the coaching staff. Is this the right one? Nope.
Real quick, anyone in the chat, feel free to let us know your thoughts on the NCAA. Do you think that they should be abolished? Because we do. And also, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because that would mean a lot to us. So thank you.
I don't know what to think of this. Go Blue retracted his message.
I read it. It's not like it was inappropriate.
I know.
It's like, these guys are crazy. I don't want my message associated with them.
I don't even want people to know I was there. All right, so Sharon Moore, I guess this is the big story, really, that Harbaugh leaves and then takes half the staff with him, or all of the key staff from last year, takes them over to the LA Chargers. Actually, not all of them did. Jay Harbaugh. Jay Harbaugh
went
went to the Ravens, right? Or no,
Seahawks,
yeah,
Seattle,
which I thought was kind of cool. He didn't follow his dad. He's off spreading his wings, doing his own thing.
Yeah, trying to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Sharon Moore has been, from our perspective, scrambling. I don't know if he felt like he was scrambling, because he knew he was going to have to replace people anyway. But he has put a staff together. Oh, Go Blue says, It was old. It won't make sense now.
Fair enough.
All right. It's not like we ever make sense. So Sharon Moore's staff appears complete.
Okay.
I don't know how, and what I tried to find out is exactly how many staff members are they supposed to have. But these are the key positions he filled in. And they said Michigan head coach Sharon Moore was up against it in several ways, but he now has a staff, and it's very impressive. So Jim Harbaugh left. We got that. So let's start with the offense. The offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, is Kirk Campbell.
Yeah, he was already the quarterbacks coach.
He was. He's actually in his third year at Michigan as the QB coach, and now the offensive coordinator, which... So people who say that, Harbaugh gutted the program, Kirk Campbell's been there for 3 years. And this is going to be an ongoing theme on the offense.
Yeah.
He's been there for 3 years. So he just got promoted up. And if we're looking at quarterbacks, that means he was the guy coaching McCarthy.
Yes. And Cade McNamara. Yeah.
So I think he knows what he's doing.
He does.
Yeah. All right, moving on then. The offensive line coach is Grant Newsome. Grant Newsome is also at his third year at Michigan. He is the tight end coach and now the offensive line coach.
He's a cool story because he got injured playing for Michigan and had to medically retire from football, and then Harbaugh hired him onto the staff as an assistant. And he's been slowly working up the ranks. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a really cool story.
The running backs coach, Mike Hart. Now, I guess there was some confusion. Not confusion. I watched the Isaiah Hole video, and there was some question as to whether Mike Hart was coming back. But I think he is. I think this is official.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that it was official. There were rumors that he was upset that he wasn't offered the Michigan job.
The head coach job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess maybe he has more experience, but...
Well, I don't know. I mean, the reason I like the Sharon Moore hire as head coach was because Sharon Moore has had more coordinator experience and this year more head coaching experience. I mean, he's already 1-0 against Ohio State. Doesn't get any better than that. Right. So I guess, I don't know. I like Sharon Moore as the head coach than Mike Hart. Now, Mike Hart can still work up the ranks and become a OC at Michigan. That would be cool, but he's probably going to end up getting a head coaching job somewhere within the next couple of years for sure. But what last I heard is that no one actually knew whether or not he was coming back, or frankly, where he even is. Like, there's a rumor that he was given personal leave. Don't know. I don't think anybody really knows anything just yet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do a quick scan here to see if there's any update. Nothing's jumping out right away.
Last I saw, Steve Dace of Michigan Podcast said that it's February 19th and we still don't know if we have a running backs coach. So, yeah, I don't know.
I can't find anything there. Well, if he stays, and hopefully he does, right now what we're looking at is so just like Kurt Campbell there was the coach for McCarthy, Mike Hart is the one who coached Blake Corum.
Yeah.
So he would be a good guy to keep. But just because Mike Hart has been around for so long, one of the great players at Michigan. He played for Michigan from 2004 to 2007. I looked these up again when I was looking at these coaches, and it's fun to read his stats because he still holds the career rushing yard record at Michigan with 5,040 yards. Which 5, I thought was
40?
Yeah, for 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And hold on a second.
What's fun is that Blake Corum only has like 3,500.
Yeah.
But you have to take into account 2020 where he only got like 700 yards for a season.
Right.
Now Blake Corum Blake Corum has the touchdown record now and I don't know, a couple other records, but I don't know. It's just cool that Mike Hart still has that record because he's the guy that coached Blake Corum. He's been the running backs coach at Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, Syracuse, Indiana. And he's now in his 4th year in Michigan. So he's just working his way around the state, really.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
If he could go and coach at Central for a little bit, obviously he can stay away from state. But
real quick, Antoine, I think. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Antoine. Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. Sorry, Antoine. Antoine Johnson says Mike Hart was salty about not getting a promotion, and it's also rumored that he has health problems.
Okay.
So that actually kind of makes sense because of remember last year at Indiana he had that seizure right before the game began, or no, not before. It was during the game.
Was that this year? Or was that last year?
That was last year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember
this
that.
year though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if that's playing into it. Maybe that's why they haven't announced anything, is because they expect him to come back, but they're trying to wait and see what he's thinking about his health.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Oh man, that would suck if we lose him because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Wide receivers coach, Ron Bellamy.
Ron Bellamy. He was a wide receiver at Michigan, wasn't he?
Yeah, back from 99 to 2002.
Wow, was it that long ago? Jeez.
Yeah, I remember watching him. He was good.
Yeah.
This is his 3rd year as the wide receivers coach at Michigan. So again, we've got guys who are seasoned at Michigan. These aren't all new coaches coming in. These are all people that Sharon Moore has worked with for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. Then moving from there, we have, and that's right. So he coached up Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson as they go off to the NFL.
And Samaj Morgan and Tyler Morris with the one of the touchdowns against Alabama.
Yep.
I mean, people say that Michigan's wide receivers aren't very good. Oh, they're fine. They're just not called on very often. But when they are, they do things.
Right. As we said, if you can win the game on the ground, there's no need to put it in the air.
There's no need to put it in the air. Yes, exactly.
Tight ends coach, Steve Casula.
Casula.
I don't know. Maybe. He's been there since 2019. So, a veteran at Michigan.
More stability.
Kessler was on staff for Michigan's magical run in 2021 and was always viewed as a very valuable assistant. Kessler worked closely with Moore, who was the tight ends coach at the time, for 2 seasons, giving the two of them solid rapport.
See, and that's stability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these coaches have been at Michigan. They know Moore, Sharon Moore, and then they go off to other places, and then they come back to Michigan with promotions.
Yeah.
So this is stability. I mean, yeah, there's new faces, but they've been there before too.
Yeah. This is everybody being coached up.
Yes.
Which I think is good. Yeah. The fact that these guys are still there, that Sharon Moore looked at him and said, no, you guys are staying here. That's confidence in the program. That's confidence in what's been done, the foundation that's been laid.
Or they're coming back, which is cool too, because a lot of these coaches that have been at Michigan are saying, like, as soon as they get an opportunity to come back, they want to come back.
Yeah.
So that's huge. That's really cool. And that speaks to culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving to the defense side of the ball. This is the new guy, defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. Martindale has a ton of experience and is at least somewhat responsible for the come-up of both Mike Macdonald and Jesse Minter. Going back to their days with the Baltimore Ravens, Martindale hasn't coached in college in more than 20 years. That's the strange part. Why is he coming back to college ball after 20 years? But he knows defense. It'll be interesting to see how involved he is as a recruiter, but a scheme guy, he's as good as they come. So what do you think? What have you heard about Wink?
I've heard that he's been a really good defensive coordinator. This last season wasn't so good, but he was coaching with the New York Giants, so that kind of makes sense. But generally speaking, his defenses are really good. He likes to blitz a lot. And that kind of freaked some Michigan fans out for a little bit because, like, Don Brown, every single game or every single play was blitzing. The question was it going to come from the right, the left, or the middle? And and it sounds like Don Martindale here, or Wink Martindale, likes to blitz almost as much. But his schemes are a little bit more complex. And this is where Michigan fans need to take a deep breath. His schemes are what Michigan has been running. He is responsible for creating the defensive schemes that Michigan has been running for the last 3 seasons. So Jesse Minter and Mike Macdonald are both his proteges, and we've basically brought the creator back. The only difference is that he seems to be a little bit more aggressive with blitzing. Not entirely sure why Mike Macdonald and Jesse Minter didn't blitz that much if they're proteges of him, but there you go. Maybe this is something that he's developed a little bit over the years, whereas originally he didn't blitz as much. I don't know. So that'll be really interesting to see. But defensively, Michigan has a lot of really good talent that he's going to be able to utilize. So this is an extremely strong hire. I'm really excited to see how this one works out. But it's basically like, so Mike Macdonald was 2021. So this is year 4 of the Mike Macdonald, Jesse Minter defense. So there's again, what is that word I keep saying?
Consistency.
Smooth transition.
Smooth transition, yeah. Moving on to the D-line, Greg Scruggs. One of Moore's most recent hires, Scruggs comes over to Michigan from Wisconsin after coaching the Badgers D-line for 1 year. That's right. This is the guy they pulled from Wisconsin. Before that, he coached in the NFL, also played in the league for 5 years. He's billed as an extremely strong recruiter and someone who really relates with his players. So recruiting is coming up quite a bit here as far as the coaches that are being pulled in. Yeah. What do you know about Scruggs?
Not a ton. I don't know a ton, but I do think it's interesting that he's an Ohio native and he's coming to Michigan. And he also, I know, yeah, he's an Ohio native. He's coached at Wisconsin. Now he's coming to Michigan. So just staying in the Midwest, which is cool.
Yep.
I think it's cool that, I mean, he has an opportunity to coach with either Luke Fickell or Sharon Moore, and he chose Sharon Moore.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I wonder if maybe Michigan was able to offer him a little bit more money or something like that. Or it might be the fact that Michigan brings back Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. And then also Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart are back as well. And so he gets to work with that talent. Whereas Wisconsin's defense, I mean, they weren't bad, but he's got a lot more to work with at Michigan, I think. So I think that's probably why he wanted to come here.
So Antoine's comment over there, the reason why Don Brown's defense got cooked because the man never played nothing but man-to-man defense. The dude never went zone or changed anything on the back end. Sounds like
that's absolutely
what you were saying
true.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. With Don Brown, he ran the same thing every single game.
I just noticed the next comment there is Ryan Day to his sons.
Right. That's probably true too.
Yeah.
But also so did the other guy. Why is everything blanking in my mind right now? What's the guy's name? Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer also had Don Brown signed. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Linebackers coach Brian Jean-Mary. 2 years ago, Josh Hoople in Tennessee stole Jean-Mary away from Michigan. Now Moore is returning the favor by bringing Jean-Mary back to Ann Arbor. Jean-Mary is a very solid recruiter and has deep ties in Georgia and Florida, which are both very fertile recruiting grounds, as we know.
Yes.
Jean-Mary is pretty low-key when it comes to his personality, but people around the volunteer program, that's Tennessee, see this as a big loss in Tennessee.
In Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah.
What do
you know about this guy?
Okay. So Jean Mary, is it Jean Mary or Jean Mary? Jean Mary.
Jean Mary. I guess it could be Jean Mary.
It's got to be French.
I guess I'm putting a little more flourish on it. But.
Well, yeah, because Jean-Luc Picard,
exactly.
So Luc Jean Mary.
There you go.
I don't know. Jean Mary returns to Ann Arbor after previously coaching linebackers in 2020. That's right. Okay, so. That's kind of interesting because he was on the 2020 team and obviously that didn't go very well. And so he ditches for Tennessee, which is interesting because so did Joe Milton, our starting quarterback at the time, ditched for Tennessee, and now gets to come back at Michigan. The cool thing is that he worked alongside Sharon Moore on Charlie Strong's staff at Louisville, who I believe was actually a pretty good team. Louisville, when Charlie Strong was there. Charlie Strong, I think after that went to Texas and didn't do so well. But again, Jean Mary and Sharon Moore have rapport. That rhymed. So that's really cool. So there's a little bit more consistency here, which is just really good.
So Ryan Day and Don Brown were coordinators together? At the same place?
Seriously?
Go Blue, Go Blue.
Okay.
Do you know where they were coordinators together? I was not aware of that. I thought Don Brown came from the Ravens.
No, Don Brown didn't come from the Ravens.
No?
I don't think so.
Well, where was he at?
I'm looking this. I'm looking this up.
At?
Boston College. Yeah, Boston College. From ESPN in December 19th, 2012.
Okay.
Boston College has hired Don Brown as defensive coordinator and Ryan Day as offensive coordinator, the school announced Wednesday. Don Brown joined Steve Adazio's staff from UConn, where he spent the last 2 years as DC. And and Ryan Day was the OC.
Fascinating.
The more you know.
Yep.
Thanks for that one. Go Blue, Go Blue. That's wow.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun how many of these guys actually work together.
Yeah, really.
And where they're from.
Yeah.
The D-backs coach is, and I'm going to mess up this name, Stephen Adoke. It's either Adoke or Adagoke, but Adagoke doesn't sound right. I think it's Adoke.
Do you mean Adagoke?
Is it Adagoke?
I think it's Adagoke.
All right, Stephen Adagoke. Adagoke is taking over as UM's D-backs coach after a few years in the NFL. Adagoke was previously a graduate assistant at Michigan in 21 and returns... Wow, a graduate assistant in 21. And returns ready and eager to grow in the collegiate ranks. He's young, very, and should be a solid recruiter, but he'll have his hands full coaching both the safeties and cornerbacks. What would make him a solid recruiter? He doesn't have enough experience to be a solid recruiter.
I don't really know what goes into being a solid recruiter other than the fact that you got to be able to sell the program. And
all right,
maybe he can, I'm not really sure. We got to do a stream sometime where we learn about how recruiting works. But yeah, I don't know. Because I know that Wink Martindale is not really looked at as a solid recruiter. And so I know that in bringing in a lot of the defensive coaches, the Brian Luke Jean-Mary and Greg Scruggs underneath Wink Martindale, they're doing that because these young guys understand what it means to recruit in 2024. I think that's probably what it is. I mean, they're young guys, so they'll be able to speak the students' language a little bit better too. So they'll just be able to relate a little bit better. That's probably all it is, honestly.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's not going to be much on him because he's too new.
Yeah.
Finally, we have the special teams coordinator, J.B. Brown. Brown has been a special teams analyst with Michigan since 21. So this is a promotion from within and a pretty important one. It's important because Jay Harbaugh took his role so seriously and had Michigan's special teams unit operating as one of the best in the country. That's for sure. And Thaw is a prime example of that. Brown is very respected by Moore, who said that Brown has been a key factor in our special team success. He hails from Texas, which is obviously another key state when it comes to producing talent, and a key game for Michigan this coming season.
Oh, hang on a second here. Antoine,
right.
Antoine's right. Michigan, so Michigan didn't get Adegoke. He went back to coach for the Texans. That's right. So
really?
Adegoke was going to come to Michigan, but then didn't. And they got, I believe, somebody else from Louisiana. Yeah, I remember now.
Well, who put this together? I mean, this was put together just 4 days ago.
Yeah, well, that's when it happened. It was about 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember now. I remember reading about that.
Okay, so
because it was just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of these were just speculation then.
Well, no, he was confirmed, but then went back to the Texans. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the same thing that happened with what's his name, Klink? Didn't he? Like, he said that he was coming to Michigan and then ended up somewhere else, or was that just speculation?
I thought Klink was coming.
No, I think he's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Steve Klinkscale. Yeah, okay. That's, man, got to keep all these names straight.
I know.
Michigan football's coaching exodus rolls on. Stop it. Detroit Free Press, you're better than. Oh, wait, no, they're a bunch of Michigan State shills. Yeah, so DB coach Steve Klinkscale to Chargers. So Klink went to the Chargers with Harbaugh.
All right.
Yeah.
So who's Michigan's DB coach?
Lamar Morgan.
For 2024. Lamar Morgan? Oh, yeah.
Secondary. No spot has been crazier than the defensive backs. After telling players he would, yep, here it is. We just needed to read a little further. After telling players he would return to Michigan, days later, Steve Klinkscale was headed to Los Angeles. Then Houston Texans cornerback coach and former Michigan analyst Steve Adegoke accepted the job only to choose to return to Houston. In the end, Sharon Moore made a fantastic hire with Louisiana defensive coordinator Lamar Morgan. Yep. All right. See, I remember all this stuff. I just gotta get it straight, you know?
Here we go. Well, I'll put this up. Excuse me. All right. So then, okay. So, what was his name again? Lamar Morgan. Okay, so Lamar Morgan replaces Adegoke. And then who was the other guy that's not? Oops, not there.
Oh, Go Blue says that's why Keon left. Okay. Well,
okay.
So, see, I guess that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because, yeah, okay, Steve Klinkscale leaves. And that's why Keon Sabb wants to leave. But Keon Sabb is leaving probably because he doesn't get to get to work under the coach that he's worked with at Michigan. So he's going to Oregon State. Well, probably because that may have been where a coach that he wants to work with is going to be. So, all right, never mind. It makes sense.
Oh, well, there we go.
I get it now.
So for the most part, then it looks like the coaching staff was in place. Was there anybody left out there that we didn't find?
I don't think so, unless somebody in the chat knows something. But I want to come back here. Antoine Johnson said, side note, if Michigan doesn't get Mike Hart back, then Michigan should go after Tyrone Wheatley. He's a coach here in Michigan. Yes. Yes, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is he coaching?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I didn't know Tyrone Wheatley was already coaching. When did he play for Michigan? Oh, okay. Well, he's just a little younger than me.
Well, there you go.
Slightly, a few months.
Wayne State.
Oh, all right.
How about that? That's
over
cool.
there in Detroit.
All right.
When did he
was the running backs coach at Eastern Michigan, too. Why do all of Michigan's running backs become coaches at Eastern Michigan?
Because Eastern Michigan is very excited to get anybody with any kind of notoriety. 91 to 94 is when he played for Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel about that, eh?
Yeah. He also actually already coached at Michigan from 2015 to 2016.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool to bring him back. He's a Michigan man.
Yeah.
Why not?
That would be sweet.
All right, what do we got next? I think we might be out of material.
I got one more if
right.
you're willing. We can
sure.
just 5 minutes on this. So I wanted to...
What's the article?
The Chip Kelly article. Did I send it to you?
Yep, I got it right here.
Okay.
All right. Ohio State hires Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator after he steps down as head coach at UCLA. Yeah, I remember hearing about this. That why would the head coach from UCLA drop down to an offensive coordinator unless UCLA was awful and he couldn't get any other job? What do you got?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so Chip Kelly was on his way out at UCLA anyway. There were rumors that if he came back for this season was going to be it. If they didn't do anything, then he was going to be fired. So a lot of people are saying like, oh my gosh, Ohio State was able to land Chip Kelly from UCLA. That's crazy. Well, yeah, because he was about to get fired. So he'd rather go. I'm sure at this point he doesn't want the pressure of being a head coach anymore. So he'd rather just go back to being the great offensive mind that he is. And that's exactly what Ohio State needs right now. So, it's, yeah. Anyway.
Well, that wasn't 5 minutes. Is that all you wanted to say?
Oh, well, no, it wasn't. I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to keep going on it.
Oh, okay. Well, here we got UCLA coach Chip Kelly stepped down after 6 seasons, leading the Bruins on Friday to become offensive. Leading the Bruins on. That's a typo.
Leaving. Really?
Leading the Bruins on Friday. It should say leaving the Bruins on Friday to become offensive coordinator for soon-to-be Big Ten rival Ohio State. The move leaves UCLA scrambling to fill a vacancy at the top of a program preparing to join the Big Ten with spring practice about a month away. Well, that's not a big deal. Three other Big Ten teams are looking for a coach or just got a new coach. From cranking up and around the country, for Ohio State, Kelly received a 3-year contract to step into a role that opened up when Bill O'Brien left to become Boston College coach earlier Friday. Last month, Buckeyes coach Ryan Day hired the former Texans and Penn State coach as OC and quarterbacks coach. His experience as head coach at Oregon, UCLA, and in the NFL will bring immediate value to our entire team.
So, Go Blue is saying that UCLA saved some cash, and yeah, that's absolutely true because UCLA's or the Chip Kelly's buyout was only $1.5 million.
Oh.
And then Antoine Johnson said Chip didn't want to recruit or deal with NIL. I mean, yeah, maybe, but like if that's the case, then why is he going to Ohio State where they just signed $13 million worth of players in the transfer portal? You know, or 12 or something like that. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, UCLA saved a lot of money. So if UCLA had fired him, they would have owed him $8.5 million as a part of his buyout. Instead, they get to charge. They literally are getting paid for firing their coach, basically. I mean, that's effectively what's happening here.
Just like the Chargers have to pay Michigan $1.5 million.
Yeah.
For Harbaugh's buyout.
Yeah.
So UCLA has hired Deshaun Foster to be their head coach.
Okay.
Deshaun Foster is an NFL player, so they're doing a Deion Sanders there, pulling in an NFL player to be their new head coach.
Does he have any coaching experience? At least Deion has coaching experience.
I don't know.
But this is why I was interested in the Kelly hire, because so Bill O'Brien is becoming the head coach at Boston College, which is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
But so Chip Kelly is one of the godfathers of the up-tempo spread offense that dominated college football in the early 2010s. Yeah, but we're not at the spread offense as much anymore. We're at an RPO. But that's fine. Like, he's a really smart offensive guy, so Ohio State needs that. Ohio State just brought in a transfer quarterback who doesn't run. I mean, he can, but he's only a little bit better than I just almost Honda McCord, Kyle McCord. I'm sorry. It's so funny that's so funny, but that's such a mean thing to call him. I'm sorry, Kyle. But anyway, McCord. So he's only a little bit better than McCord, but I don't think he runs. I think he's basically the same quarterback as McCord is. So why are they bringing in a spread guy? Unless, I don't know. I don't remember running to be as much a part, I remember the quarterback running to be as much a part of the spread offense as throwing. I mean, there's a lot of quarterback running in the spread offense, but I feel like that kind of morphed into the RPO option offense as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we got to look up we got to look up different styles of offenses and do live streams on that sometime, because I would be interested to know the difference between the spread and the RPO. But I know that both of them incorporate a lot of running, and that's not what this new guy is. He is a pocket passer. At least that's what he did at Kansas State. So,
yeah,
I mean, they're bringing in Chip Kelly, and he runs a spread offense, and he's this great offensive mind. That's great. Where are the players to support that? But also, Ohio State brought in a whole bunch of really good transfer players, and they absolutely did. They're phenomenal players. Ohio State's roster next year is going to be stacked. They're going to be phenomenal. There is not one single transfer coming in on the offensive line. So you've got all these great, amazing skill position players coming in. You paid them $13 million to get them on campus, and you're not giving them a line.
Yeah.
Where are the changes being made? That's why everybody's saying, like, oh, Ohio State's absolutely going all in to beat Michigan. But they're not doing anything with the most important part of the game.
Right.
So are they? Or do they really just not realize how important the offensive line is? Because their offensive line was fine last year, but Michigan's D-line still gave them all kinds of crap. So if they want to beat Michigan, they need an O-line, not better skill position players. They've got great skill position players. I mean, they had Marvin Harrison Jr., they had Julian Fleming, they had Emeka Ibuka, they had Travion Henderson, they had Chip Trainum. They have amazing skill position players, and they still lost.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it too much, but I know that Ryan Day is starting to show up on the the list of the top 5 hot seat coaches for 2024.
Which is also really stupid, because
it is, except it comes back to, and each one of them is saying it's because of the 3 losses in a row to Michigan. And that's part of it. That's the number one. 3 losses in a row to Michigan, not making the playoffs, not having a national championship.
But he was a field goal away from a national championship in 2022.
Yeah.
I mean,
what have you done for me lately is what they're saying.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, if in 2024 they just blow it, then sure, I get it. But right now Ohio State's on a 2-game losing streak, Michigan and Ole Miss. I get it. That sucks. You had a lot of players sitting out the Ole Miss game. That's frustrating. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. The problem is that he is so good otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could have had the season that he had last season and still made the playoffs in 2024. I mean, 11 wins will get you to the playoffs. 10 wins is probably going to get you to the playoffs in 24. So would they fire him? Like, oh, you made the playoffs, but you didn't make it in the top 5. So would you really fire him? The guy has like 3 regular season losses ever. Yep. I understand all of them are one team.
I mean,
but
if we really are looking at the 2 super conferences now with the Big Ten and the SEC, and if we're looking at all of this NIL money, all of this TV money, if it's becoming the NFL minor leagues, I mean, NFL coaches don't get a lot of time to turn a team around and to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you can't perform, it's, being second place doesn't keep your job going.
Yeah, I guess I won't understand it. I mean, I get that Ohio State is used to championships. I mean, they've got the 1 championship in 20 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. So that all of a sudden makes them on par with the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. Like, I'm not saying Michigan's, any better, because Michigan's only got the 1 in 20 years, but they're a phenomenal program every single year. They're just, I hate them, but I love hating them. And I think that that's amazing. Like, I always have fun watching them play. I mean, just strictly from a football mind, like, it is fun to watch Ohio State play football. They're just great.
They have a major intimidation factor that
is
half their game.
And I don't understand why you would fire a coach with the type of record that Ryan Day has in the modern day game. Because I can tell you this too, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry is not going to mean anything near what it did next year.
Right.
I mean, because, you can play again the following week in the Big Ten championship and possibly even a third time in the playoffs.
Right.
So I don't think that they would fire him.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Not for a regular season loss, but anyway.
I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? If you want to talk about Ohio State, if they're going to keep Ryan Day, what do you think of? I just forgot his name. Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly
coming over to Ohio State from UCLA. Let us know in the chat. Drop it in there. We gotta probably be on here for a couple more minutes.
We got Antoine Johnson saying Ohio State is the ultimate failures. Think of all the top 5 classes they get over the years and did absolutely nothing.
That's a good point, because they keep picking on Michigan for not being able to recruit, for only getting the 3 stars, and yet Michigan has 3 standout seasons, 3 Big Ten championships in a row, beats Ohio State 3 times in a row, wins the national championship, and they did that with less than what Ohio State gets. Ohio State is doing less with more. Michigan is doing more with less.
But so this is where the culture argument comes in then. So maybe Michigan's culture is better. Yeah. But actually that still comes back to Ryan Day. Ryan Day needs to create a better culture, which actually reminds me of comments that CJ Stroud made at one point, saying that playing for the Texans was weird because it was actually a fun environment.
Okay.
Or something like that. I think that's what he said.
That's what J.J. McCarthy said too, that when, aside the fact that apparently Ryan Day lied to him about, wanting him to be the quarterback when really he was trying to get McCord, McCarthy also said that Ohio State was working more like a business rather than a football team.
They were leveraging.
Yeah.
With JJ. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get over to Michigan, and as we've said, Michigan must have a better culture because nobody says a bad word about it except for Cade McNamara. But that's just because he lost out to McCarthy.
Yeah.
And honestly, Cade McNamara hasn't really said anything all that terrible. But everybody else seems to love it. Everybody loved Harbaugh. Everybody seems to love Sharon Moore. All those guys, and frankly, all those guys who came back from 22 that said, no, we've got unfinished business, we want to come back. They're not going to do that if the culture isn't there. Of course, if the culture wasn't there, they wouldn't have gotten as far as they did in 22 either.
Well, and there were guys back in like 2016, 2017, 2018 that should have come back for their senior years. Mm-hmm. And if they had, Michigan probably probably would have beaten Ohio State and won a Big Ten championship a lot sooner than they did. But
the culture was different.
The culture was different. Yeah. I mean, Jake Butt, I think, was the one who said that it was very clinical. Like Harbaugh was way too professional. And that's probably because he came from the NFL and didn't really speak to his players on a personal level. But once he changed that, which I believe, wasn't it Biff Poggi from Charlotte was the guy who told Harbaugh, you gotta talk to these kids like they're kids, not like they're coworkers or something, or employees.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And that must have worked. So maybe that's the problem at Ohio State right now is Ryan Day, as phenomenal a coach as he is, it's just too clinical. It's too professional, and the kids aren't having fun. They're not being listened to because, I mean, they are kids. Yeah, go blue, go blue. Jabril Peppers and Rashawn Gary could have come back for senior years, and they didn't. Jabril Peppers especially could have come back, and Michigan would have been great.
Yeah.
But they didn't. But yeah, maybe that's the problem with Ohio State is that the culture isn't really all that good. But I don't see how the $13 million bought roster and bringing in Chip Kelly and all that solves that.
Well, it doesn't.
No.
I mean, there's no way just buying players is going to get you a better team. It never has. If that were the case, the Lions would have won the Super Bowl multiple times in a row.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, Reggie Bush was playing for the Lions. So,
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be really curious to see how Ohio State does this year, because this is the ultimate experiment. Can you buy a national championship even in college football? Right. And if Ohio State wins the national championship, fine. Fine. They did it. Yeah. But if not.
Well, and actually, now that you say that goes together with why Ryan Day is in the hot seat, because if he's buying this team, Harbaugh is gone. They've got a new coach in who's already beaten him. With all of that stuff in play, if he loses to Michigan again after doing all of that, what's left? What do you do after that? I mean, at that point, Ryan Day is just waiting for Michigan to fail so that he can win again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would make sense then why he would be on the hot seat.
I guess, but I mean, I'm not just saying this because Michigan seems to have his number lately. I don't think that they should fire Ryan Day. Until the culture gets to the point where they legitimately start dropping games that they should win, then I get it. Once you start losing games, then I get it. Mm-hmm. But, because when it comes down to it, I mean, college football is about wins and losses. So I don't care if the players are having fun. If they're winning games, then just keep doing what you're doing, and the athletic department will make money. But at some point, if the kids aren't having fun, if the players aren't having fun, and the culture is one that is just really sterile and clinical and way too professional, and you can't have fun in it, then they're going to start losing games. If that happens, then yes, sure, fire him. But that hasn't happened yet. And that might be this year, frankly.
Mm-hmm. So Antoine there saying Ohio State is the ultimate failures. You just heard that one.
I just read that, yeah.
The problem is Ohio State just gets a bunch of athletes and puts them on the field and tell them to out-athlete people they don't really develop. That's okay. So that's been an argument. Does Ohio State develop players, or do they just use players? I mean, they've got a lot of guys going to the NFL too.
They do, and they've got a lot of guys doing well in the NFL too.
Yeah, CJ Stroud being one of them.
CJ Stroud is doing amazing in the NFL, and it is so cool to watch him do well in the NFL because I felt terrible for him after the 22 game. Anyway, he's doing really well. Chris Olave is doing really well. Taylor Decker at Detroit is doing really well. I mean, there are players that are being developed and doing well. There are also a lot of players that are not. And And I'm thinking that the reason I can't think of them is because they're not doing so well in the NFL. So yeah, I think Michigan is a better developmental program, but Ohio State is bringing in more players that can more easily transition to the NFL, I think. Or they have the talent to be able to play in the NFL pretty quickly. They don't require as much collegiate development, maybe.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't.
Go Blue says Jabril and Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, they could have come back.
They could have come back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Antoine says the problem is Michigan is teaching actual technique and NFL defenses, so they can't just out-athlete us anymore. Yeah,
that's correct. That's correct.
Completely agree. Man, It's got to be over 20 mil now. What's over 20 mil?
Whatever Ohio State's paying their players.
Oh, I thought they capped it at 13.
Yeah, I thought the end was 12 or 13, but I don't know. Maybe it's gone up.
Maybe, yeah. Well, if they can get the money, they probably will, yeah.
Yeah.
Antoine says, after this year, Ohio State will be in trouble because Ohio State doesn't play their depth. I don't know if I agree with that.
After this year, Ohio State will be in trouble because Ohio State doesn't play their depth. No, I think he's right.
You think so?
Yeah,
Ohio State. They used to play their depth.
I don't know. Ohio State was like known for leaving their players. Well, actually, especially this year. Ohio State this year left their first stringers in way after they needed to.
Okay.
There were more games where they needed to leave their first stringers in, but there were a lot of games where they could have taken their first stringers out and didn't and ran up the score.
All right.
So, yeah.
Ohio State gets ready-made athletes. Ryan Day said he needs at least 13 mil. Says go. Yeah, that's true. That's the plan he put together last year. Back in 22, he said in order for Ohio State to compete in NIL, they needed $13 million to get the players they wanted. He had a whole plan for that, and then he was able to carry it out this year. But yeah, I don't think there is a cap. That's one of the complaints, that there's no cap on it. So it could be up to 20 mil. He could be spending more money. I'm sure if the boosters want to give it to him, they'll give it to him.
Trying to look up real quick how much they've spent so far.
All right. What's exciting too is the complaint for Michigan is that they're just not understanding NIL or doing it properly. But I'm hearing a whole bunch of chatter that Michigan is bringing their NIL together and making it happen. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly that means as far as if they're buying players or if they're just making it better for the players that are there, or what. But did you find something on Ohio State?
Yeah, I'm seeing 13 million. Well, he estimated that they would need 13 million. So far spent, it looks like 10 million. I'm seeing 10 million, but I know it's higher than that. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around 13 million.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, as of January 22nd, Ohio State has spent $10 million in NIL. Yeah.
Actually, here, as long as we're on the subject. We had this one queued up. Yeah, we're going to start giving out Lambos. Yeah, we should Michigan start giving out Lamborghinis.
Well, that was the dumb thing about it. I think that's what who was getting investigated for or not investigated for that. It was like
I thought it was Tennessee.
Tennessee was getting investigated. No, Florida State was getting investigated for something really stupid. I can't remember what that was, but freaking one of Texas Longhorns, one of their recruits drove up to sign his national letter of intent.
That's the one.
In a Lambo.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. But there's nothing shady going on here.
But there's nothing shady going on at all.
Better look at Connor Stallion's cell phone again.
Yeah, really. Georgia?
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's take a quick look at this one then. This one has some fun numbers in it. How real is NIL, anonymous recruits in college football's 24-class dish on collectives, contracts, and more? 15 4- and 5-star recruits disclosed to 247 Sports either exactly what they'll receive or around what they'll earn at their school of choice. The values run the gamut from a few thousand a month to around $1 million a year. Imagine being 18 years old and getting $1 million a year.
That's insane.
So how much do incoming recruits get? It's among the most speculated topics in college football, rumors far outpacing actual information and context. They talked with 100 players. Okay, everybody likes money, but it's kind of the money. A top 100 recruit said about what he'd change in college football. I think people don't play for the right thing in college football no more because they're getting paid almost the same as NFL players. So it's kind of the money.
Yep.
And
Well,
he's
right.
like, and then you got to appreciate his honesty here, but I like money, so I ain't going to say that. Yeah, I don't blame him.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, if you can get it.
Yeah. Why not?
Let me get down to the numbers here. Okay, so out of the recruits they talked to, you've got 350,000 a year, 400,000 a year, 120,000, 180, 120, 72, 75, 400, $1 million a year, a few thousand a month, 600,000 to 800,000 a year, low to mid six figures.
Mid six figures?
Yeah. Well, mid six is 500,000.
Yeah, that could be around 500,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's the average NFL contract?
Yeah, so he says that's how much blue chip recruits can make. Every player surveyed held a 91 rating or better in the top 24 of the top. I'm sorry, in the 2024 top 247. Here's what they said about how NIL works. What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say the median salary for all NFL players is actually about $860,000.
So a lot of these guys are going to make as much as they would starting in the NFL.
Well, that's median, so that's including players that are not starting.
Right.
Quarterbacks tend to fare the best in terms of payouts, with their position averaging somewhere around 5.6 million, with the median being 1.1 million. So, yeah, I mean, running backs can expect about $1 million with a median wage of 630,000. Man, yeah, they're not paid enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
NIL agreements can vary greatly from school to school and collective to collective, but there were some commonalities in the responses. Usually the first year of a contract is guaranteed at a certain number, but there are often incentives for players to raise their NIL payments based on how well they play. That makes sense. Conversely, a few players mentioned their NIL payments could go down if they don't perform well. Again, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond cash, players also often receive additional incentives, like a leased vehicle, a Lambo, perhaps. The way I have it, the first 2 years are $400 guaranteed, and after my sophomore year, I can ask to renegotiate based on how I play. You know, and as much as I believe that these players deserve some compensation, you know, because the schools are making so much money, the TV stations are making so much money, and these kids are taking all of the risk. They're running the possibility of getting a life-altering injury. By the same token, think back to when you were a freshman in college and all of the things you had to worry about and stress about. And then imagine as a sophomore adding on to that, oh, I got to renegotiate my contract.
These college students, I mean, they better have people there helping them figure out these contracts, because that's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I wanted to point this out. So later in that article, it has a section on myths about NIL.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, you can go ahead and trash any thoughts that most recruits are getting paid millions annually to attend a school. Quote, people get paid to play, but the numbers that you be hearing are outrageous. People are just lying and pushing it past what it is. So apparently, I guess the media is probably pushing that the numbers are way higher than it actually is, which makes sense. The media is all about sensationalism, but it's probably not as much as we think it is. Although, I mean, if I were making $100,000 as a college freshman, that'd be dope.
Yep.
That'd be dope.
Our old friend Texas Longhorn says, you guys just want the bag they're getting.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of talent, though, so I can barely do this.
And even then, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
We're barely hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah. Okay, so you were just talking the myths about the stuff. I think that's... Let's see. Okay, as for the valuations made by outsiders, players had mixed responses about how accurate those are. Multiple blue-chip recruits told 247 Sports that the numbers they see are spot on, while others, like recruit number 1, said they are way off. I'd say 50-50, recruit 6 said. Speculation sounds better than whatever actually happens, which is what you were getting at.
Mm-hmm.
There's the assumption out there. Okay, there's also the assumption out there that players always takes... Wait a minute. There's also an assumption out there that players always take the most money. Oh, that they go to the school that gives them the most money. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
But that isn't always the case, recruits insisted. A pair of 5-star recruits told 247 Sports that they took less money to attend the school they signed with, which meant losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a good sign. You know, that means they're not letting it's a good sign in that there are schools they wanted to go to and they didn't say, but I can make more money there. So they're not necessarily chasing the money, although there is money to be had. But I don't know. In some way, that just makes me feel better.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a lot of these kids are coming from situations where they any money is good money. I mean, that would have been me. Yes. any NIL deal is a good NIL deal.
Right.
But not just from a monetary standpoint, because you look later on in that they talk about Gervon Dexter from Florida.
Yep.
If you want to read about that, that's where things get crappy.
Look no further than former Florida DT Gervon Dexter, who signed a $485,000 NIL deal with a speculative investment capital company in 2022, with the caveat that the company, Big League Advanced Fund, would get 15% of his NFL earnings for the next 25 years.
That's his entire career.
Yeah, this is the type of predatory deal, along with collectives not coming through on payments, is something that athletes are leery of. So you got two things going on there. You got investment companies or whatever companies and taking advantage of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still going to happen. So it's not like them getting this money is all of a sudden means they're, in great shape. Just like agents to celebrities and all that, or agents to anybody, they, you can get shafted by them. Elvis Presley got shafted by his agent, his manager. And if he can, I would think anybody could. But yes. Not only that, and this is one I hadn't even thought of, is, what if the collectives, whether it's the boosters or whatnot, just don't pay you?
Well, they have to.
I mean, it says right there, if they don't come through on the payments, I guess you could sue them, but now you're spending money you don't have to get money they're not going to give you. I mean, you can do that one way or another, but nevertheless, when you get into the lawsuit territory, it becomes very costly and time-consuming.
Well, sure, and the schools are going to fight it. I mean, the schools are going to put a lot of money into fighting that for sure.
Yeah, you would hope. But
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how the contract is written, whether or not you could win, I guess. I don't know. That's the thing, is this whole thing has just been enacted without any guardrails whatsoever. And so now you've got schools doing all kinds of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the NCAA saying to the schools, well, you broke a rule that didn't exist until right now, and now we're getting you in trouble for it.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
One top 100 recruit told 247 Sports that schools that made him the wariest were those who offered an open checkbook from the start. Yeah, always be leery of anybody who says, "Oh, our checkbook's open."
Yeah,
He
just
said,
name the number.
Yeah, schools just told me, "Give me a number and you can commit." And you can commit at that number, the recruit said. It was intriguing, but it kind of felt like a trap. It probably was.
Yeah. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Probably is.
Mm-hmm. Or if it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
Whatever.
As for when NIL comes up in conversations with schools and collectives, recruits said it can vary greatly. Recruit 3 said that NIL money didn't come up with any schools until his official visits, while Recruit 7 said that some schools just throw it out there very early in the process.
It's those schools that throw it out there very early in the process that are probably just trying to buy championships. So I'm curious if that's what happened with Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I wonder if they're the ones saying, like, you know, just we need you. We'll pay you whatever you want. Come here, please.
Yeah.
You know. And I mean, like, you think about Quinshon Judkins, the running back from Ole Miss that's transferring to Ohio State. I don't necessarily know if I think he has a relationship with the coach that was recruiting him at Ohio State. But I'm kind of thinking, okay, if I'm at Ole Miss, Texas and Oklahoma are coming into the SEC. Georgia's still doing really well. Now apparently Florida State, and although he didn't know this yet, but Florida State and Clemson are going to the SEC now. We've just found out. But if I'm him, I'm thinking like, okay, Ole Miss isn't going to go anywhere. We're losing some players. I bet you next year's not going to be as good. What if I transfer to Ohio State, get more money, and the possibility of a championship?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that's what he's thinking. I don't know, but it just goes along with, you know, what if Ohio State is just trying to buy championships?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to be common now.
Yeah.
I think that's the era we're in, is just buying championships. Whether or not it'll work remains to be seen. You know, going back on the miracle philosophy, looking for the best players or we're looking for the right players rather than the best players. Money doesn't always buy championships. It just buys headaches.
Yeah.
Go Blue asks, what about Dante Moore? He's on his third bag and transferred again. Does he have to give it back? Depends.
Depends.
It depends on his contract.
Oh yeah. Well, probably if he has a time limit, time constraint on the contract, like he has to play a certain amount of years or he has to buy out the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of.
I don't know. That might be interesting. I wonder if he does have to do that. I don't know.
Well, what do you think? What else we got?
I don't know. I think that was about everything I wanted to cover.
About it. Yeah. Well, then I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, all you guys, for hanging out with us. It was fun. Everybody in the chat there. We're going to try to do this regularly. If we don't do a live stream next week, we'll for sure put out a video of some sort. Mm-hmm. Mac, anything you want to add?
So we're planning on doing this either Sundays or Mondays. We'll have to talk about it. I think we should probably plan for Sundays. Sundays might be better. So free up your Sundays and come hang out with us. It's going to be great. If you haven't already, go ahead and give the video a like, maybe even subscribe, possibly even comment once this is, commentable. Right now it's just the chat. Yeah, that's what I got.
So, yeah. All right. So I think I did that wrong. I guess I don't have anything else to say.
We'll tighten things up.
Yeah. I guess that's about it then. Hope everybody enjoys their evening and enjoys the rest of their week. Mac, take us out.
This is Michigan, along with all of the other topics that we covered, chatter on Big Ten team rivalry. Good night, everybody.
Good night.